vision slips away, you're falling down. But don't be afraid, we're coming back to you. We're holding back until that day you fall again. We're coming back to you. Oh, 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 oh. We're coming back to you.
And Vexit is going to be the man to lead us away up the start. It's going to be Zones, who's got the better line, realistically, in towards turn 1. He's got the inside line. He can just shut the door on Vexit. We'll see now if he can pull that off as the lights are on. They will go out, but hold your horses. And it's go time here in Baku. Looks like Vexit has actually got a pretty clean start. I don't think Zone's actually going to be able to get the jump he needs. No, he is not. Oh, there's a bit of contact, but no damage between them, so they're still keeping themselves alive. Everything seems to be okay down the back of the field as well. I'm not seeing any real problems. It's now coming in towards turn 2. How are we looking from there? Everybody seems to be still keeping themselves out of each other's wings. Oh, mistake from Alex. That's the rotation. He's kept himself out of the wall despite reversing into it. No damage for him, but it's still Vexit P1, Zones P2. Ghetto on P3.
And Florian looks like he's making a move here on Yolta, as Yolta's managed to get past Brownie. So Brownie had a little bit of a bad start, but there we go from Florian. He's just trying to make the move stick, but unfortunately just getting a little bit squeezed there. And Yolta manages to reclaim the position.
And actually get on his teammate. He did have a bit of a slide coming through. That's a mistake from some idiot. Oh, big crash there into front of Geton. That was a mistake. I think he just completely didn't see the braking zone until it was too late. He tried to avoid the crash. You could see he made a very evasive action to try and avoid Geton, but that was a severe crash from some idiot into Geton, and Huni has retired. I don't know if that is as a result, but a virtual safety car has been pulled. So Zones, like you said in the qualifying, Zones is at risk here of not having a teammate. Obviously, Vanya wasn't there for the qualifying session until the very end. He is here and in P6, so still doing well for the team. But he can't be any sort of defense for Zones at all. Whereas Vexit has Rainbow to be deployed, can use him to try and break a gap there. Because like I said, once you're outside that 1 second margin, it is so hard to break it down again. I'm looking at the grid, I'm thinking Racing Point looking pretty good. Reno got a good chance, he's got some big points as well here. Yolta, P4, very good run from him so far. He had a lot of help in hand in the qualifying. He's been able to secure a nice race strategy as a result of that. Now Rainbow will start back in the pack right on up and is going to be communicating to his teammate, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a swapperoo here between the two Red Bulls. It's going to be try and let Vexit pass as quick as he can, hold Zones back as much as he can, and Zones is going to be very aware that this could happen. He knows these two will be communicating, but Zones feeling a bit like a lone wolf here at the front of the grid. He's very much surrounded, backed into a corner, and it's when does Rainbow decide it's time to go?
Yep.
Oh no!
Oh, what?
He got hit in the back, it looks like, by Yolta, and that's a penalty that's been applied. That might likely be removed. Zones is trying to find a way. As soon as the Red Bulls go, he's just going to bolt. There he is. Rainbow's gone. Now Zones has gone as well. Vexit has actually read the situation too, probably because he's been in cahoots. But Zones is trying to hold Yolta back whilst closing in even closer to the Red Bulls. He's not been caught out. This is fantastic stuff, but he cannot let Vexit get past Rainbow.
Yeah, and as you say, that penalty that he received will get removed unless Zones for some reason needs to have another pit stop, which means that he'll end up serving it in the pits. But looks like Vexit has now made that move into turn 3 on Rainbow. This was probably pre-planned, and Rainbow will now try and hold up Zones all through these corners here. Make this as difficult as possible, but Zones is already going for it.
Oh, he's hit the wall.
Whoa.
I think that's wing damage. I can't see the wing. Has he gotten this? Oh, no,
No, he's good.
Oh,
Good.
he's lucky there, but Yolta's actually looking for a move as well down the inside. He can't quite get that one stuck through, so Yolta will have to fall back in. And this has been a nightmare. Look at the gap already between Rainbow and Vexit. Rainbow has been instructed, as I predicted, to back zones up and let me run. Vexit, he needs to pull a bigger gap than that though.
But here, this is going to be nice and easy for zones. All you need to do is just stick in the slipstream, make a dive into turn 1, and we're all Gucci. So here he goes.
Yeah, you know Rainbow's quite defensive. Look at that, all the way to the inside. DRS has now been enabled. This is going to be a chance here for Zones. It's going to be a switch back of dreams because Rainbow's got deep in towards turn 1. Zones has played that perfectly. There's a bit of contact between them, but Zones is back up into P2. And now Rainbow's going to be a little bit desperate. He's got the DRS here. He might actually go for a lunge in towards turn 3. I think his gap is a bit too much, but he's still committing to it. He actually closed in a lot faster than he thought he was. No, he's not going to lunge it. No, I thought he was going to lunge it there. It looked like it, but he decided against it. And now Zones realizes what he's got to do. Daniko in with a shout here. And getting Yolta. The toe is huge. He's going to be in the braking zone of turn 1. Are they going to be able to hold it together? Yolta's going to try and defend this. Deep in towards turn 1. No contact between them. And Daniko gets himself ahead. Up to P4. Now it's going to be a Racing Point Renault. Oh, yellow flag. Safety car again. Alex has retired.
Alex.
That's a crash. So Rainbow has been rescued.
Zones came in the pit. He literally, the safety car came out just as he was about to cross the pit lane, and he's now came in for medium tyres. This is huge.
Let's see what.
Oh no! He has to serve his 5-second penalty now.
He can't even get rid of it.
No, he can't get rid of it. This is now holding up Vanya. This is. Oh, this could have cost him this race.
So this could be the response needed. Daniko, is he looking to come in as well? Yes, he is. Yolta stays out though, so he's going to try and go the distance. Copy staying out as well. Brownie in there too. Hugo's is in the pits. Higgsy stays out. This is going to be a very interesting ending to this Grand Prix. We have 11 laps to go. Probably got one more before the safety car is in. And then we can get back underway with the racing.
And let's just see, does Zones manage to get out in front of Daniko? Yes! He's not lost anything. That 5-second penalty did not cost him anything now. He is in the exact same position that he would have been.
So lucky in that respect then. That it was timed the way it was and it ended up the way it did. So good news for Zones. He does obviously have a bit of a gap, but he can close that in pretty quickly.
Running, exit, and very fast Zones coming through.
Safety car is in. Florian has got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with his teammate. The day gets worse for McLaren, and just when he thought it couldn't get, it did. So, Yolta, now he controls the restart in this Grand Prix. It's going to be Copy hunting him down in P2 and Brownie in P3. He's going to be trying to get past Copy as quick as he can, and then you know the Renaults are going to be working together in a similar fashion to what we saw from Red Bulls, except it's going to be I told you, you told me, and we're going to be a happy family. As Yolta's gone, he's disappeared. Copy didn't get caught out, but Brownie did. That is a pretty large gap going on between them. Higgsy also got caught, but Vexit did not. He is very much in that gearbox of Higgsy. He's going to go for a potential move down the inside of turn 1. It's going to be a hard break zone. He's going to surely make it work. Bit tight on the inside there, but yes, he's done it. He's up there into P4, and this is big. Zones actually got past Higgsy as well. He needs to make sure that he doesn't get caught out by any maneuvers that Vexit should pull off. And Zones made a move work where he absolutely had to in order to not get caught sleeping.
Yep.
There's no DRS available, but obviously this does mean though that it's much harder to attack. Oh, Brownie's made a mistake. That's actually cost Zones a lot of time. There's going to be over a second gap, especially with the fact that Vexit's going for a move on Copy. Yep, yellow flag second 3. That is Dennis. I think that's a pit lane retirement. That wouldn't be a surprise. Yeah, I think it is. And we also have Vanier, who's right at the back there. He's had to go into the pits, I think, due to wing damage. He was on the soft Sumidia and Higgsy there in a side-by-side scrap as well. Rainbow's trying to get himself involved in this once more. And he's going to be trying to go for a little look-see, but that's... Oh, no, Higgsy! Higgsy just locked up, made a mistake, and he's had to use the runoff area. And that That is him now, right out of the back of the grid. Florian, he's crashed. Virtual safety car has been called. This is looking really good for Zones to take Yolta as well pretty early. Vexit once more has been given an opportunity to run. He's got the 1 second margin that he needed. Now Zones has been in trouble, but now he can turn it on. Now he can cruise on past Yolta. The DRS will be available to him as well, so he should use this to break that gap down to Zones. So it's a 1.6 as to Vexit. 1.6 as it stands. Let's see where he gets when he gets to the end of the lap as Vexit sets
it's going to go potentially three-way. Yep, there's Hugo's there, made a move on Brownie, made it stick, but then just caught that curb and it really went in the copy, and now he's just hitting to get on. Get On's having an absolute nightmare of a race. So far behind.
Some idiots go for a lunge. Oh no, Copy's been caught up in it. There's damage for him. Rainbow's getting involved as well. This is absolute carnage down the back of the field. 2 cars have been rotated. That's Copy and Brownie. Some idiot went for a lunge down the inside of Brownie. That was what looked to have set it all off, because it was just contact, spinneroonie, and lots of mistakes being made. Brownie and Copy are the ones to suffer the biggest losses. Some idiot is back up to P5 before his penalties are applied and before any stewards get involved as well. That was definitely not the move to make there, some idiot. He finds himself rotated, wing damaged, right at the back of the grid. No doubt he's going to have to bring himself into the pits, and Danico is potentially looking for it. As again, he's going for a lunge as well. In towards. Oh no, that's not the decision to make, Geton. You do not want to send it that deep, and Geton has gone into the side of some idiot, and it's just carnage.
1 and 2. So if he stays here, stays in the back in turn 1, gets the DRS into turn 3, then that should be him. But he's very, very close now. Is he going to go for it? Oh, a bit of a lock-up. He should have just been a little bit more patient. He might have now just cost himself this win.
Just a wait. Sit tight until we get onto that final run. Make sure he gets the exit of greens onto the long back straight. And then just do it. Just send it. And then easy peasy lemon squeezy. Charge your battery now. But he's panicking. You can see the panic starting to set here.
The straight, I think this is a win for Vexit.
I think it's mainly due to the fact that Zones didn't do as I said, which is manage that ERS. Vexit, who did everything he needed to do, may have actually just kept himself ahead. 7 tenths. 8 tenths now is the gap. Vexit, what a machine he is. P1 to P1, and Zones gets P2. Yolta will cross the line in P3. And I think you may have just got yourself a 100% prediction.
Yes, I did. 100%. I will. I'll take any trophies, thanks, that you're offering. But oof, I did not realise that 5-second time penalty there for Yolta. But obviously that also is probably going to get removed anyway. But yeah, that's that was close, even with that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 9 of the Rwagnation League Grand Prix here in Canada. I'm Ben Raggy McConnell, and as always, joining me in the commentary box is the supremely awesome Mr. Mark Hornbadger Meiklejohn. How are you doing?
I am really excited. It's Canada. It's one of the greatest tracks on the circuit. Always provides some really great racing, and we're to see some incredible drivers show us what they can do.
Exactly. It's always an absolute blast to come here every single time. But this is the circuit they're going to be attacking. It's 2.7 miles long, 14 tons in total, and 3 DRS zones. Effectively, 2 of them are going to be the main overtaking opportunities, but all 3 can be used to give it the full beans around the circuit. Obviously, when it comes to the standings, Getund is still leading, but it has been narrowed down quite considerably. He's on 130 points with Zones A in 136, and then the gap extends quite massively. Brownie P3, Subidi P4, Vex P5, and we'll go through the rest later on when we go into the full graphic when we get to the actual race. Rainbow is the best of the rest, though, as you can see. He's got 27 points. Top Tom is there. I mean, he's missed a fair few races, in fair play to him, so he's still scored quite well in the races he has attended. P12 is where he sits. Chan behind there, P13, and then Yonti, Selso, Vania, Dennis, Pigsy, and Alex Bird. In terms of the championship standings for the constructors, though, McLaren are still ahead by quite a margin. Almost 50 points separates them. They are 188 with Williams at P2, 139. Mercedes actually closing quite nicely. They're on 131, and again, we will talk about the rest in a Una Momento. I have accidentally just skipped past the hot lap, but luckily I have one here for you. So this is Yonti doing a hot lap already here. So that's going through turn 1 already into turn 2 and then turn 3. You want to make sure you get it done just nicely round there, because if you don't, let me tell you, that will be a real problem for you. Then you go into the 4-5 chicane. You've got to cut the curbs just nicely on both sides and make sure you get the exit just right. Avoid the wall on the right side because it will kill you. Make sure you come into the next chicane again, get the braking just right again, mount the curbs again, but watch out for the right hand side. Don't cut down too much because you will lose stability, and you come onto the first DRS straight. Hard run down here in towards the next chicane. You want to brake at the 100 meter board, get yourself right down the gears and cut the inside curb quite nicely. And the same for the exit. Again, watch out for the exit. Do not touch that wall. You will find yourself crying if you do. As you come now into the hairpin, hard brake is up when you get to the 100 meter board, and get right down the gears and make sure your exit is perfect, because this is the most important corner on this circuit. You have to get the exit just right. If you do not, you will find yourself very much at the mercy of everyone behind you, because this is the main toe overtaking point. Brake at the 100 meter board into the final chicane. If you don't get it done by the time you go there, you can go ahead and do it again here on the home straight as we come through to the end of that lap. Now we are almost ready to get underway. We have just one driver we're waiting to get cracking with. And then we'll get going. But Badger, I need to get your input on how you think this race is going to go down.
You know, it's a tricky one. There's a lot of areas where you can lose the car, touch walls, and cut corners. So I think penalties are going to be a big factor. What I would say is you will want to try and break the DRS if possible. You know, if you're out in front, if you can get that 1 second margin before you have the big straight, then that will pay dividends later. You know, but if you get caught up in the train there, everyone's just going to be matching each other's pace, and realistically speaking, the end of that straight is not really a great overtaking zone, because that chicane is very difficult to do correctly. So if you mess up, you're potentially risking either contact with the driver, contact with the wall, or even a penalty for cutting the corner too much. So you need to make sure you've got the move done before you get into the braking zone. Otherwise, there's no point in trying to fight it. Yeah,
exactly. I think this is going to be an exciting race, no matter what happens, from beginning to end. Again, we've seen over previous seasons. I think if I remember correctly, season 3 was one of the scariest seasons when it came to a lot of the drivers. They found it, you know, lots of battles. Brownie was there back in the day when we did these races. He has been onto this track number of times in the league racing standards. He has got a lot of experience here, and he's somebody I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he could do overall. He actually looked pretty good in Baku. Just obviously got involved in an incident he couldn't really get out of. I wouldn't even say it was his fault after the point of when he hit the back of Copy. Obviously, he did go a bit deep. He did get caught out by Copy's braking. He has obviously had a penalty applied as a result of that, and then the next steps that happened after that were just unexpected, shall we say. And then obviously you got the rest of it when it comes down to Copy getting spanned around, and then he got collected. And yeah, it was a nightmare. But this is a chance for him to pull it back. He has really got an opportunity to deliver here. McLaren need to deliver here, because if you remember last week out in Baku, they both had some major nightmares. In fact, let's have a look at the standings overall. Obviously, we did go through them briefly when we actually had the intro video. This is going to be a bit of an interesting race when you look at it, because Gatland is going to be feeling the pressure, knowing that Zones is coming for him, and the gap being so close does sort of say, hey, look, you better get a move on, because if you don't, Mercedes are going to take over you, especially Zones taking over you. I mean, Vanya has actually started to bring himself into these races more frequently. Haas have actually started to get some points, but they're not obviously a contender for the constructors or the drivers as it stands. We do still have a lot of the calendar to go, but they're going to really need to book their ideas up, one of which isn't actually here today because he's actually taking part in a endurance race in ACC. Brownie, I wish he could be, I wish he had like a bubble where he could just protect himself from everyone around him, because, you know, yes, he made that mistake, but then after that, he just gets caught up in incidents. And I think he deserves to be higher up than he is. Same for some idiot, to be truthfully honest. He also gets caught up in these incidents, and I'd like to see him do more. Vexit is actually somebody who I believe can climb quite nicely to come up to the top 2 right now. He might be a contender later on. Obviously, he's not here today. Neither of the Red Bulls are, in fact, here this week. But, you know, they have got the pace. They're more than capable of being the strongest ones on the circuit, but they're going to need to do a hell of a lot more than that, because attendance is probably the only way you're going to get points, really.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you're here for all the events if you're wanting to consistently get the points. I mean, you know, the start that McLaren had was incredible in terms of their just outright pace and consistency. That has now dropped off, though. They've, as you said, last race, both drivers had an absolute nightmare of a time, so that really opens up for the other guys to catch up with them. But if you're missing out these races, then you're not there to capitalise on their mistakes. So you really need to make sure that you're here to just gain on these drivers. And
Alex Budd may be in trouble with the stewards. That was very much blocking on the circuit there. Not ideal. I think he may find himself in with a bit of a slap on the wrist and maybe a bit of a penalty. That did completely affect Yonti's lap, and that's forced him to back out completely. So Yonti, who was somebody who is quite good here. He's actually got quite a fair bit of pace, but more importantly, he has got the strategy, which you can rely on to be very good. Can I just talk about a Williams driver who nailed it in Spain? Absolutely nailed it in Spain. Struggled a fair bit since, but he's actually somebody I think will be very good here today. I think he's actually got a chance to qualify very high up. He just needs to avoid the issues going into turn 1-2. Also that wall, because that will absolutely destroy your left front wing. To be honest, he's quite lucky that he didn't lose a wheel there. He did hit that wall pretty hard, and now it's going to be a very swift trip back to the pits as we get a couple of times on the board, one of which is done by some idiot on the medium tyres. 108.470. I do need to ask you, Badger, before you chirp in, what is your 1, 2, 3?
You know, Zones has been so strong that I think it's kind of hard to count him out. And right now with Vexit not being here, Vexit, as we know, managed to take pole and was really challenging Zones all race last race. I think realistically Zones is going to end up in pole. I think we'll probably end up seeing get owned up there. You know, he seems to he kind of needs it. So I think get owned P2, and we'll say Hugo's in P3.
So I've just heard from our stewards. Alex Budd will be investigated after the race for the blocking that he did on Yonti. So that is going to be something to watch out for. Danico has set the time. He set the fastest time, although I'm a bit concerned. Obviously, it's early days. Yeah, we've still got plenty of time left of this session, but a 108.297 is his current fastest time. That is done on the softs. He's only just ahead by about a tenth and a half of some idiot who did it on the mediums.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see the kind of the top runners that have set laps right now are kind of alternating between the soft and the medium. So potential mixed strategies today, but you know, the alternate strategy of starting on the medium tyre and running a little bit longer at the start is usually a pretty good one to go to. Opens up your strategy later to whether you need to, you know, go on the softs, or if there's some early instance he can still make it on hards where the other guys starting on the soft might not be able to make it on the mediums. So be interesting to see. Now,
Top Tom, hold on. Top Tom, there it is. He's taken pole position. That was a very interesting line through that final chicane. Sorry to have cut you off, by the way, but he very nearly threw himself into the wall of champions. Gave him a little bit of time, but I think we're looking at a mid 107s realistically, as you were.
So I don't know. It doesn't look like we'll end up getting it right now, but according to my weather radar, rain is supposed to happen just as the session finishes, which means that this might actually be the moment in time where the track conditions are at their best. Obviously, as the rain gets closer, the track will get cooler and we'll lose a little bit of grip. So right now, we might actually see the grippiest that the track is going to be for the qualifying. So getting a lap, an important lap, right now is very useful. And zones, that is laying down a marker there. That
is zones being pretty damn good. I mean, I don't want to call it early. Obviously, I didn't do my predictions, so I'm not going to chuck one in now because that would be a bit unfair. But zones getting P1 by 107.540. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in pole coming into this next race. So the only real contenders I feel to take this are the likes of Geturned or Brownie. I mean, Brownie did his lap, remember, on the medium tires. Although, actually, having said that, Some Idiot did his lap on the medium compound tires. So he also could potentially really deliver. So we'll see. We'll see. I do want to go on. Sorry, go.
Now, the thing with Some Idiot though is that he seems to his qualifying pace is nowhere near as good as his actual race pace. You know, he just can't seem to get that extra couple of percent out the tires that the other guys around him can do. So he might struggle to just get that to go a little bit faster. You know, that's much more in line with his race pace in terms of, you know, he can be very, very consistent and very quick, but just that final few, you know, tenths, I don't think he can quite eke that out.
He goes. He got a tow down both of the straights. He got one from his teammate, and then he gets another one from Alex Bird, who once more is out on the track, going for another lap. Hasn't got one on the board just yet, but I have heard from the race engineer for McLaren, Mr. Tomek Porajic, hopefully I pronounced his name correctly. He has said that Geturned did a 0.2 the other day, so 107.22. So there is a possibility that Geturned might actually properly contest zones. Now it will come down to traffic, obviously, being one of them, confidence being the second, and just how good the track is, and whether or not that rain that you've said might come at the end, whether or not that does actually happen. But Geturned has now set off. He is going to be kickstarting his racing lap. I actually want to stay on board with him for this lap. We did do a oh, has he? Unless he's just holding on.
Going nice and slow, waiting for the start, so he'll start kicking it up now.
There we go. Alright, I actually want to stay on board with him because I want to see how he does this lap and how clean this is. So he's on the home straight, obviously, coming in towards turn 2 now, because that little kink on the right is turn 1. Quite nice and smooth through there. Did ride that curb a little bit. Shouldn't cause any issues. He didn't need to get on the throttle for a little while longer. Into 4-5. Cut that nicely. Cut that one. Keep out the wall. Very clean, very tidy. This another one here. You want to cut this inside curb here just a touch. There it is. And then avoid this one here. He's actually, I never thought about doing that. I don't know why, but he short shifted all the way up to gear 5 there. I usually short shift to gear 4, but you know, clearly he's much faster than me, so there we go. Heavy rain is predicted for the start of the race. So if we are seeing heavy rain at the very beginning of the race, we are going to have a crazy, crazy Grand Prix. Everybody's going to be struggling now in terms of their pace. I mean, I did think there was a very long pause before the drivers actually started coming out of the pit lane at the beginning of the qualifying session, which does suggest that rain is coming. But here we go then into that final chicane. Cuts that nicely, keeps him out of the wall. This could be a good one. This might not be faster than zones. It's just outside of it. But that is a beautiful lap time there from Geturned.
Yeah, that was an incredible lap time there, and it just looked so nailed on board from there. You know, there was every apex he was nailing it. The car was just so perfectly planted. You know, that was a really great lap.
Somebody who I think is actually not quite just demonstrating how good they can be. Oh, Danica very nearly binned it there. He is coming through on the home straight to finish a lap. He did a 108.0, which would put him P3 as it stands. But yeah, Top Tom, I think he's not quite demonstrated how good he can be. I mean, if you can remember back to the qualifier, Top Tom was fast. Like, he was keeping up with esports level hot lap times. I mean, I'm talking qualifying only. It wasn't a race. You know, that's obviously a whole different ball game. And you know, the pro esports drivers are so much better when it comes to those race conditions than a lot of the people outside of esports. But you know, I think he has got so much potential that he hasn't yet demonstrated in this league. Like I say, yes, he's missed a fair few races. I just kind of explain, but I'd like to see him setting a lap time that is right in the middle of Zones and Get Earned, just to let them both know you have to pay attention, because this isn't just you two doing your own little thing. I'm also a part of this race, and I'm going to show you that.
Yeah, that would be really great to see, to be honest. I mean, I do think he's just had a lot of kind of missed opportunities in this league. You know, we know that he's a fast driver, but he just doesn't seem to be able to quite hook it up whenever the opportunity arises. So yeah, I think we do indeed need to kind of give him some time, and hopefully he can show today, this is what I can do, this is what I'm capable of, and really start bringing his car forward and start pushing kind of the front runners. Oh, as Higgsy's back in, steps out there, nearly taps the wall of champions, but kept it going. Let's see if he puts his first time in and goes P10.
108.606 is the time he set on the table. 3,000ths slower than Yonti there. Not the best time, but not the worst. Bear in mind, they are going to be adapting their setup quite considerably for the wet conditions. So it is not a surprise to me that they are going to be that bit slower. Alex almost getting in the way. He might have even...
Yeah, I think he's got...
Has he done it again?
Yep.
Oh no, I think Yonti was actually on a cooldown lap, because he's done a lap already. But I mean, I guess we'll wait and see.
It was sitting in behind Higgsy, and then he stepped out in front of Higgsy, and then I think he realised just as he moved out to overtake Higgsy that, oh no, Yonti's coming through. So hopefully Yonti's not on a lap, but he definitely cut the next corner after that, so he was definitely distracted by him.
Yeah, and that was the second time between the two drivers. You know, it's not like it was Alex and two different drivers. It was the same two drivers. So Yonti now, mentally, he's going to be quite frustrated. And this is, again, where it comes down to experience and knowledge and maturity to an extent. Having that mentality to be able to not let that affect you. Oh, that's... never mind. Well, clearly it's affected him because he's had an issue. I think he's got a this and next lap invalidation. Yes, he has. So he will not be able to qualify on this set of tyres. But remember, the timer in the top left is not quite right in terms of what we can see and what the driver can see. They're not in sync. So he does still have plenty of time to get back into the pits. And even if it was correct, he'd still have plenty of time anyway, but he'd have to get his skates on. I do want to hear from the chat though. What are your 1, 2, 3 predictions for the end of qualifying? We've seen Zones deliver a very good lap time. We've heard that Get Owned can do a 107.2. Obviously, they will have adapted their setup slightly to accommodate for rain. If we are expecting heavy rain, then they will have upped their ride height considerably, and that will actually mean then that they will be a bit rolling when it comes to any hard braking zones or any high downforce corners. So let me know in the chat your 1, 2, 3. I'll give you a shout out and a read, but I have heard from Hatman, who says he predicts Zones for pole. In fact, he actually clarifies a bit further. He says Zones Get Owned some idiot. So the P3 slightly changing, but Zones is improved.
So yeah, that's a slight improvement, but an improvement all the same. And wonder if he looks like he's out of fuel. So I don't know if he's maybe ran out just as he was crossing the line there. That would have been awkward.
I think he's okay. I think he's just short shifting like crazy. Yeah, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's not run out of fuel. He's just really high up in the gears. I think he's trying to manage his tires because he's already done. In fact, he doesn't need to manage his tires. It's going to be a heavy rain start, so you can actually do as many laps as you want on any particular set of tires, and then you're fine. Lots of drivers on their way out now. We have already missed the calm before the storm. That has gone and passed. Although we may see another storm, like you said, potentially. I think we're probably not going to see it now. Looking at the sky, the sun is still very much beaming down. I think we need a fair bit longer to go. But you know the heavens are going to open when it comes to this next, when it comes to the actual race. A heavy rain start will mean the drivers are going to need to think fast, react quickly, and be smooth and steady. It's actually weird because when you are actually racing in the rain, you don't want to go flat out. You want to try and be as slow and smooth as you can to remain consistent.
Yeah, it's definitely a different strategy and skill. I know that I'm vastly better in the wet than I am in the dry, comparatively speaking to those around me. So it's definitely something that's a lot more feel and just a lot more patience is required. You know, a lot of the time, if you look at the telemetry data from guys, it's a lot of stamping brake, stamping accelerator, stamping brake, stamp accelerator. You cannot do that at all in the wet, otherwise you're going to be on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. You know, these adjustments will unsettle a car, and that will make it so that your car will just step out. You will lose, especially in the, any sort of area where you need to trail brake. You got to get the trail braking just spot on, otherwise the car will just leave you. He'll say goodbye. I've packed my bags. I am taking the dog. And you're not going to keep the sink. Higgsy to the line then. 2/10th improvement. He actually jumps up there to P6. It was a 3.5/10th improvement. Apologies. So good start from him. Get on did invalidate his lap, so he couldn't quite make it to pole position today. 107.679 is where he sits. We have got racing points coming to the line. It's going to be Copy first, who I think also invalidated. We have a Mercedes to the line too. That is Vanya, who's not improved. We have a Williams coming next, which is Hugo's. And he improved. He is 2/10ths faster. I think he invalidated. Yep, and he got this and next lap, so he can't even improve on that.
I just had a look. Getoned actually ran straight across the turn 1, and he's now doing the same. So I think he's desperate to try and get back to the start finish and try and get a lap in. So the problem he's going to have though is he has so much traffic in front of him now. So
yep,
his hot lap is going to be lots of mobile chicanes.
Yeah, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We are starting to see the drivers going on for their final lap. Top Tom has attempted a lap, but he couldn't quite make it better than he already had. So 108.203 is where he will stay. Yellow flag in the final sector, that is nothing more than just a car being a bit slower. Danico has invalidated. Copy has also invalidated. He will cross line it with a 108.219, which would have put him P7. But because he couldn't quite get it on the track, because he invalidated, he will not be able to improve. Get Owned has retired. He couldn't make it round in time. So that's him there, stuck in P2. It's now really a question of whether Brownie can knock Zones down or whether Zones can improve already. As Danico goes to line, he does improve, but it's not quite enough. I think it was because he invalidated is why it's not quite enough. Summidiot has crossed the line. He goes P3 and stays there, 107.873. So it looks like Hatman may have actually got it perfectly labelled out. Zones actually backs out. He has an invalidation there. And Brownie, he's coming through the final chicane then. Can he improve? Has he got the pace locked in then? It's 106, 107. It's not quite enough, but he's up there now. He's knocked Summidiot down. He will take P3. A very good job by him. And Yonti crosses the line to take P7. And then the final lap has been completed there by, I believe that was Alex Budd. No, it was Dennis. And he will stay P15. So both the Alfa Romeos not quite able to chuck a good lap time on Alex Budd. Really struggling there. His time being a lot slower than you would normally expect. Whether or not he's massively accommodated for the weather that we're expecting to see at the start of the race, I'm not sure. But the one thing I can tell you is it's Zones and pole position. Get Owned right there next to him on the front row of the grid. And Brownie in P3.
Yep, I was close. I missed Brownie. Brownie wants to surprise me, but yeah, that's what you love to see, to be honest. You know, Brownie's such a good driver as well, and it's good to see him up there and fighting for these podium positions.
So, as we said, Zone's getting pole position with a 107.532, and then Geton right there on the back of him. Brownie P3, Samidi at P4, Florian in P5, Top Tom P6, Yonti in P7. It's actually quite uncharacteristic for him. He's not normally that high up. Higgsy P8, Huni P9, Hugo's getting the 10th place, rounding us out, with Danica getting best of the rest. Yolta P12, Vania P13, Copy 14th, Dennis, and then Alex Bird are the remaining 2 drivers. Now, we've had qualifying. We know the race is going to be wet, and you'll see that in just a uno momento. There it is. That is a very wet race indeed. So wet tyres will almost certainly be on the car, although I am seeing inters in Top Tom's garage. Potentially, maybe it's just inters only. We will see in a second. But I do want to hear from both of you and Mr. Horn Badger in the chat. What are we seeing in a 1, 2, 3 at the end of this race? Let me know in the chat. I'll read them out. Meanwhile, Badger, what's your 1, 2, 3?
Honestly, I think Zones has the pace to maintain this, and I actually think Brownie will probably get the jump on Get Owned. Brownie is usually very smooth, and he does kind of seem to do well in these conditions. And to be honest, if he doesn't do it on track, he'll probably end up doing it on penalties anyway. I think Get On will probably get a little bit more in the ways of time penalties than Zones and Brownie around him. So I'm going to say Zones, Brownie, and then Get On for P3.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it's the same scenario. I do think Get On has got pace. My only sort of reservation is when it comes to Sumidia. I think he actually is pretty good in the wet conditions. We are seeing intermediate tyres being on the car, so clearly not enough standing water. Not heavy rain, in fact. It's just rain. But I mean, that looks very wet to me. That would say... I'm not seeing a lot of standing water, though. Maybe that's why they've not gone for properly wet tyres.
Yep. Although I do have it on my my telemetry that says that this is storm weather, so it could very well end up being a switch to wets at some point before the track dries up. So it's storm weather for the first 10 minutes, and then after that it is back to just standard rain, and then after 30 minutes it will be drying conditions.
Well, I'm looking at the chat and I've seen Kinku say Yonti might be a black horse in this one. Honestly, I actually agree with you. I think Yonti is somebody who is very good in the wet conditions. He reminds me of Beaker in that respect. Beaker is also very good when it comes to these rainy conditions. He's very good at the throttle control, and he's always smooth and silky. Somebody else who's smooth and silky is Brownie. He's very, very good at controlling that throttle. I almost never see him properly lose the rear. And so I'm expecting him to do very well. I actually think, and this is a bold call, I know, but I actually think it's going to be Zones, Brownie, Sumidia. I think Sumidia is going to jump Get On. I think penalties are going to be huge on this circuit, so we shall see. Somebody else who's got some predictions in there, we've got Just Chillin' who says Zones, Get On, Sumidia. We've also got Hatman who says Zones, Sumidia, Brownie. So he kind of agrees with me, just I've got them in slightly different order.
Yeah, I mean, penalties are definitely going to play a part. And we know that Zones has been pretty clean, to be honest, since this season's begun. So I expect he will probably have the pace and not really have much problems in terms of penalties. But I do think Get Owned might just gather himself, you know, maybe 6 seconds or so.
Yep, here we are then. The lights are on for the Canadian Grand Prix here in the Rwagnation League. Lights are out, but hold your horses. And there we go, we are away. Zone's actually got a bit of a wheel spin going on there. In fact, that's also the same sort of scenario for Brownie and Sumidia. They're both fighting the car, and here comes down the inside is Florian. There's having a bit of a send there. There's contact between Brownie and Sumidia. That's actually forced him to take the runoff road there. He's going to come back on the track quite safely, just about keeping himself out of the way of the Renault. But look at all of the back ends. They're sliding around. Sumidia is stuck there behind his teammate now. They're all the way down in P10. Yolta's actually managed to get himself through there as well. I've seen lots of wing damage there. I think that was Higgsy who just had a bit of a punt inside the wall. I don't know if there was contact that forced him into that scenario, but this is getting very tense. There's Hugo's looking for a move too. He's trying to get down the inside of Higgsy. Almost gets taken down by both Dennis and Yolta. Dennis up to P12. He's had a fantastic start going into this Grand Prix, and so far no yellow flags. So far no real casualties And I think we might actually survive lap 1 without a safety car.
Yeah, just a bit unfortunate there for some idiot. Brownie had just kind of missed his braking zone going into the turn 1, and that just ran some idiot out wide as he was trying to go around the outside. So a bit unfortunate, and now he's dropped all the way down to 9th, but Florian's managed to jump over him.
Dennis and Hugo's had a bit of contact between them. Hugo's tried to stick it around the outside. There's also Alex Bird who's had a crash at the back there. That has caused the yellow flag in sector 3. The Racing Point duo, Copy and Danico, they are also charging away to try and close in on Yolta. Unsurprisingly, obviously Zern's setting the fastest lap because it is the first. Yolta had a massive tank slapper there. He very nearly found himself in the wall. Top Tom also there with Brownie. Brownie's lost his control going through turn 2. This has now allowed Top Tom to go around the outside of turn 3, but in towards turn 4. It looks like it's going to be Brownie who's going to have the inside line, or is it? Because for that matter, I think Top Tom, Brownie's still going down the inside. Top Tom's been forced onto the grass. That was a bit of a dive there from Brownie, but Top Tom is the one who still gains overall, and now his teammate Huni is also looking to try and pass the Renault driver round the outside. This is surely not possible. No, it cannot, and Yonti looking to stick his nose in as well, where it's not wanted. Huni trying to fight it back. I think he's held on to that for now.
So I saw some damage there as Top Tom made it round Brownie, but I can't see anyone with a damaged wing, so there's an end plate missing for someone.
Oh,
and it's Florian. Florian's actually lost it further up the field. Yep. He's lost his right end plate, so that's going to cause him some bother. He'll want to... To be honest, he's got the same kind of damage as Alex at the back, and Alex has elected not to pit, so this really will depend. If Florian can make it till the kind of drying period, then he can come in a little bit early and then get that wing replaced, but yeah, that's going to be giving him issues all the way around this track.
Well, Yonti keeping himself clean. Zone setting the new fastest lap. Has anyone got pace in him today to beat him right now? He's actually pulled a 1 second gap to Gattern there in P2. Florian gained 2 places at the start of the race, but the biggest winners are actually currently tied. It's Vania and Dennis, who've both gained 5 places since the start. Bear in mind, Dennis was P15 when we started this race, and he shot through the field on those opening couple of laps, and he's allowed himself to get a nice points position as it stands. Obviously, doing it at the beginning is fantastic, but you've got to do it all the way to the very end. So, Dennis, keep going as you are. You might even score yourself a bit more than what you've got. Biggest loser so far is Higgsy. He's lost 7 places from where he started. We saw the contact he had. He did go in the wall. I don't think he actually lost a wing or end plate or anything of such damage as that. Yonti's not moved, but I actually think he's really looking good going into this.
Yeah, I mean, he's still sitting kind of pretty, but he's not really making any inroads on Huni, and Vanya looks like he is wanting to sizable move on Yonti, so he will need to keep his eyes behind him as well as his eyes in front of him, and he's kind of in a little bit of a sandwich at the moment.
Vanya closing in on Yonti. Yonti is going to have to look at his mirrors. Vanya giving him a bit of a scare there, but Yonti is unfazed, does not lose sight of his target, does not make mistakes, and he's kept himself clean and actually still within DRS range. Not that we're going to have any DRS of Huni. So Huni, who's now lost the 1 second margin, will also lose toe on the straights, and that's probably the more, well, that's not probably, that is the important bit. You're going to need that to help defend you, especially when you haven't got DRS. You know, defending is a bit easier because you're then both relying on the same thing, ERS and better exits, but still. This is great for Yonti. Let's see what he can do now to sort of attack Huni. But it needs to be calculated. That's the main thing.
Yeah, he needs to make sure that he doesn't lose time while he's doing it. You know, especially like as you say, the main area right now is that back straight, and it's so easy to just kind of get caught up battling and trying to fight for position going into that chicane. So he needs to make sure he does it cleanly and that he doesn't waste time. But Huni's now managed to get back into the slipstream of Brownie, as Brownie's just fallen behind Top Tom for like about nearly 4 seconds now, so it looks like he is kind of struggling in these conditions at the moment.
Now, obviously we don't know exactly what the weather report is in terms of whether the rain is going to disappear. We might see dry conditions later on. The rain isn't showing any signs right now. I mean, actually, I'll take that back. It does look like it's slightly softened up a little bit. Your weather forecast, is it still showing storm?
It's still showing storm for right now, however the kind of lighter rain is coming in the next couple of minutes, so it's probably easing up.
Right on, then we'll keep an eye out for that. I'm not expecting to see dry tyres, at least not for a long while. I mean, even if the rain stops, the track has to dry out, and that's going to take a good few laps for them to make that work. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be kind, but let's be honest. There are a fair few people who are struggling to actually get to a position where they can close in. But I have just heard from the stewards. They've seen the weather report, and they've said that a dry track is to be predicted towards the end of the race. So we are going to see dry conditions later, but we'll have to keep a firm eye on that as to whether or not we're going to get it. Zones, though, is looking very comfortable right now. Whether or not it's the fact that he's got himself on a much more wet-orientated setup, or whether he's just naturally that good. He is 3 seconds ahead of Get Earned. Get Earned is 4.5 seconds ahead of his teammate in P3, and now look at Top Tom. He's closed in quite nicely on Florian. He's gaining rapidly every lap. There is a huge train fight for P5 onwards that goes all the way down to P12. And it's kind of just staying as is. No one's really getting aggressive. No one wants to try and take it because they realize we don't quite know when the rain will end, despite the fact they have like a little forecast thing. They're just trying to make sure they don't have to pit onto another set of inters because they went a bit too hard on it. If they can stay in the tow, stay in the DRS range for when we do go to the dry tyres, we should be all fine and dandy. But that all works fine for most people, except the Racing Point duo. Because look how close they are. If one of them pits, the other one is getting absolutely done in.
Yeah, it definitely would be unfortunate, but who actually benefits from that will probably be the McLarens. Whereas, I mean, there's a big enough space that they can probably double stack without any issue. But realistically, Florian's going to need his wing changes. It looks like Top Tom's just attempted to make a move into the hairpin, and that's probably going to cost him making a dive into turn. Oh, actually, he might make it. He's close enough. But Florian will need to get that wing changed when he comes in. So, right now, as it stands, he's just wanted to hold out for that dry weather, but that means that he could probably come in a lap early, you know, just before the conditions are right, because of the length of time he's going to be in the pit lane.
Oh, Tom Tom's looking for Florian. He's going for a bit of a send. There's another bit of a nudge between the two of them. That has actually caused a bit of instability between the two, but no damage. Oh, sorry, no additional damage to either car. There is obviously damage there for Florian still from the right end plate missing, but this looks like Top Tom's going to try and stick it through for 4-5, and Florian went a bit too deep, and Top Tom, he's seen this film before. He's read that book, and he's worn that t-shirt because he knew that Florian was going to go deep. And he just lets him go and takes the position.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy move really for Top Tom. He had so much extra pace just from not having the damage. But Florian now, he needs to watch out because he potentially is going to fall now into the clutches of Brownie. So if he can just try and stay within the slipstream, but it looks like he's already out with the kind of strong area of the slipstream effect. And he's locking up his tyres again coming into that hairpin.
I'm also watching Yolta and Dennis because here we go down the inside into the hairpin. It's going to be Yolta going a little bit deeper than he wanted. Dennis kind of expected that and gave him the extra room that he needed. Dennis is much better on the accelerator there than Yolta. Yolta's just a bit too heavy-footed. Who does that remind you of? But Yolta is staying still within that tow range. He should still be able to close back in again. Maybe go for a move in towards turn 2. Maybe turn 3 if he can't quite get it done there. But again, it all comes down to these exits. This is a track where exits are so important. No, momentum carrying, yeah, fair play, but it's like here, watch this, coming out of turn 3. If you don't get this right, you will lose so much time. Dennis has a bit of a twitch there. Yolta has the same. Yellow flag sector 2, that is Alex, who is currently really struggling down there in P16.
Yeah, he's definitely not having a good time with it right now, but I think he's just trying to stay out of the way as he's being lapped right now. So I think he's, yeah, he's just. Hopefully he can salvage his race a little bit once it gets to the dry conditions. But he's having a horrendous time in the wet. Yep,
Yolta is kind of having a horrendous time, but only because he's got a big Alfa Romeo blocking his way, and that is Dennis. Dennis Myers has been here in front of Yolta for quite some time. In fact, this battle has gone on for too long that it's actually caused him to be outside of the toe. Now, Yolta wants to hurry up and get past him so that he can get back up to the back of Samidia and then use that toe to try and defend himself later on in this race. Because the more time you lose here, the worse that's going to be when you pit and switch to the dry compound tires. Unless, and this is a massive unless, the pit timing is so crucial. When we switch to the dry conditions, you have to make sure that you time it exactly precise. Because if you are slightly out, you could be losing 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds, although 3 seconds is going to be applied to get on at the end of this race because he has cut the track too many times or extended a bit too many times, and that is a big 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, he's not the first one, and I am most certain he will not be the last, but right now it doesn't cost him anything due to Top Tom being a little bit further back. However, that could all change. You know, there could be a safety car, there could be much closer in pace when the dries come on. You never know, that could be very costly towards the end of this race, but right now it's not affecting him, and Zones is just kind of sitting pretty now. He knows that Get Owned is now even further behind. That's effectively 8 seconds he's got in his pocket.
So, Zones very comfortably up there in P1. You know, the time penalty, plus the already existing gap, and the ridiculous amount of fastest laps he keeps putting in every single time we watch him race, just sort of demonstrates how cozy Zones is in these conditions and in this current scenario. Get Owned, P2, overall pretty good. You know, still it's a podium. That's another thing to bear in mind. And I think if I remember back to the interview, he didn't say, besides the fact that I pushed him to say he was going to win, he didn't say he was actually feeling that good about this circuit. He's looking good, I'm going to be honest. P2 is still huge for the team. But yeah, he's got a lot of work to do before the remainder of this race. 25 laps remaining, 26 if you include the remainder of this. And I think he's going to have a couple more penalties in his pocket before he gets to the end.
Yeah, it's likely. Again, not just because of the tricky conditions, just because this circuit is so easy to run a little bit too wide or cut a corner too much. There's a lot of fast chicanes that if you don't nail, then they really come back and haunt you.
Yeah, they really, really do. A nice little rear wing cam here. That is Yonti hunting down Huni. Huni has lost the gap there to Brownie. Brownie clearly feels comfortable right now, and he's just, okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm just gonna take off. See you later. Have a good race. He's feeling great. So P5 is where he sits. Yes, he was obviously qualified a lot higher, and you know, you would have expected things to go a little bit smoother for him. But at the end of the day, it's still early days. He's still got a lot to do. Yonti in the same boat. Actually, Yonti looking for Huni now, coming into that final chicane. A bit of a mistake there made by one of the Alfa Romeos ahead. I think that's Alex. That kind of scared Brownie just a touch. Huni having a huge wobble coming out of that final chicane there. And very nearly lost his car completely. And this is now Yonti coming up to the back of Huni. Alex, but just trying to navigate the course. He stays well out of the way. And
yep.
So you should. And jump
well there.
In.
You know, it's so difficult as well, like after you're already having a difficult start to your race and then you're having to get blue flagged and get out of everyone's way and you just can't get a rhythm going. So Alex is having a really difficult day today.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel for him. You know, he's giving it his best, but yeah, it's just very awkward, very difficult conditions. And if you've got the wrong setup, it can just be an absolute nightmare. I mean, you know, I would be in the same boat as him. If I was him, I'd probably be way worse, to be truthfully honest. But Samidia still there with Yonti. The train for P5 still exists. It's kind of broken up in a couple of areas. Dennis Fires being one of them. He had a big wobble there. This allowed Yolta now to go alongside of him into the breakers up for the hairpin. He's going to go deep into it, making sure that Dennis can't quite get the cutback he needs. And that's actually perfect for Yolta. Bit of a back end spin there, and that's actually allowing Dennis to give him another attack. I might expect Dennis to go for another send here because the toe is huge. The ERS, sorry, is being fully utilized, and there we go alongside again, coming into that final chicane. It's going to be all about the braking zones. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Who's going to get the movement? And that's going to be Yolta conceding the position to make sure he can get the run on the exit. Look at the pace from Yolta, right back through again. I thought Yolta was going to lose that and just stay lost, but he has managed to get that move done perfectly on that final chicane, and he's got up to P8 now, but he has to manage the gap. He has to get ahead of Dennis by a little bit more than he has already, and still close in on Samidia to make sure he isn't at risk of being murdered. Alex Bird has brought himself into the pits and retired from this session. And I don't blame him. That is a very difficult track to drive on today. The track is damp, being very nice. The track is soaking wet. It's practically a swimming pool that way.
Yeah, it's it's unfortunate, a bit frustrated from her, but it clearly just wasn't his day today. As just looking on, I was very impressed with Yolta and Dennis though. That was Dennis made the huge cojones move of trying to go round the outside going into that chicane at the Wall of Champions and made it stick. And Yolta then with the switchback, it was just both drivers there showing incredible skill for such a difficult conditions to drive in. That was very well done from both of them.
And it comes down to the experience, to be truthfully honest. Yolta has been in this scenario before. He's watched that happen. And he knew that, well, actually, Dennis's line through the outside is going to be so compromised because I'm there. He's going to expect me to go too wide. If I back out early, Dennis is going to have to commit to that line. There's not a lot he could do about it. That means I can take... Yes, it's a much tighter line, but it means that I can carry a bit more momentum. I can get a much smoother exit, and then off you go, Life is good. So, fair play. Yolta did it beautifully, and he's actually done an even better job at closing in on some idiot. Look at that. He's already in the tow range and a bit more. He's got lots more that he could prove to the drivers here today, and I'm excited to see what he delivers.
Yeah, he's doing well on copy there though. Turn 1's just actually giving himself a 10-second time penalty. He kind of went onto the grass and just cut that turn 2 there completely. So he did try and slow down, and it was definitely out of it.
Yonti's got for a bit of a send here on Huni, deep into the corner. There is definite contact between the two drivers, but no damage on either. And now it's a drag race right the way down the back straight. And obviously no DRS available for either driver. So this is how low are your wings and how good are you on the exit of that corner. I think it's kind of neck and neck. Yonti's slightly ahead, but he has got the inside line into the chicane. He's actually tried to do the same thing that Yolta did, although he didn't quite back out in time. This has allowed some idiot now to go for a move. Also, Dennis having a mistake made there, coming through that final chicane. That's actually, I think Yolta's had the same. Oh no, Yolta's in the pits. That's what's happened here. And that's also somebody that's still sticking there with Yonti. Yonti quite okay with his current situation. But interesting to see that Yolta has decided to pit. I didn't see damage. He hasn't got damage. So... unless he's had his ring replaced, maybe. I don't think so. Yeah. It was a pretty quick pit stop.
That's interesting, because from my reckoning, the track should be drying in about 5 or so minutes. So unless his tyres were completely gone. But wait, what's happened at the front here? Tom's in front?
Well, we've had a pit stop. So Zones and Getland have both gone into the pits and swapped out onto fresh inters. And I think actually... having said that, I think this is a big brain play, because these guys that are still out on the track right now, the likelihood is that they're going to try and keep it like that for quite a while, because they're going to want to try and stint it over to the dry compound tires, which would be ideal. Top Tom is into the pits because he's seen the scenario and goes, yep, I probably should do the same thing. And then everyone else who's going to go, well, the track could take forever to dry up. We might not be in a position where life is really good, and if Zones can chuck in lap times like that, that's going to be a good example of what to expect. So Huni into the pits. Yonti has decided to stay out. Brownie has decided to stay out. Pit lane is getting a bit more active around all areas of the grid right now. New front wing for Top Tom, although I don't see anything wrong with his current one. Huni, sorry, Huni.
And that's interesting for Brownie there, though. He might have been saving his tyres quite a lot, because within those 14 laps before Zones and Getland pitted, they actually managed to still get out back in front of Brownie. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
So Brownie will need to absolutely massage these tyres, but right now he's got a bit of a gap to Yonti. Top Tom will need to get past Yonti before he can start getting at the back of Brownie, so this could work out well for him.
Yeah, I mean, pay full attention to Top Tom and watch how quick he is on the exits of these corners, because obviously these tyres are going to be much grippier than what Yonti's got, and he's demonstrating that now as we come again into the hairpin. So tight, he's going to have to literally park it on the apex just to make sure he gets the exit just right and doesn't compromise Yonti. They are going to be side by side all the way through here, but I think it's actually going to favour still Mr. Top Tom, as he has got himself ahead of Yonti. Yonti will be very glad, to be honest, that Top Tom is through quite cleanly, because he can kind of use this to not only manage his tyres, but also try and pull a bit of a gap to the drivers behind. He's already losing the time to Top Tom, and I think no real change is going to happen here.
Yeah, Yonte let him go. He never turned on his ERS at all. He just watched as Top Tom put down the power and slipped in behind him just to, you know, get some of that slipstream. But yeah, I think he knew that one wasn't worth fighting. So very cleverly, he's let him by, and now he can continue on with his race and defend against the guys behind him.
I mean, now you're starting to see, well, what have you really gained from all these people that have decided to stay out without changing the tyres? Yolta is someone who has a lot to prove, and he's currently trying to do exactly that. He's already passed Higgsy quite cleanly, and he's already pulled nearly a full second gap. He's now about to do the exact same here to Copy. The acceleration here is pretty quick. I don't know if you've already pointed out, maybe I've missed it, but the rain has actually stopped. There is still a lot of water on the track, and this is kind of what these guys at Hoof Pit were expecting, was that the track would stay wet for a while, and that they would be able to use this time to really pull themselves forward. So whilst most people think, well, only doing one stop should be faster, yeah, technically, but not always. As they demonstrate, the pace that they have is much better than those who are still out there.
Yeah, and I think this has worked out well for Zones and Get Owned, and potentially even Top Tom. But for Yolta, he's got so much traffic that he needs to get through to get, you know, back up to Dennis, that I don't know, it could end up proving the wrong call. It just depends how fast he can catch back up. For Zones and Get Owned, they pretty much had clear air as soon as they came back out. You know, Yolta's got work to do before he can get back to that position. Because if the track goes completely dry, as it's looking like it's doing pretty rapidly right now, then he's effectively cost himself 4 positions.
I am also keeping a very firm eye on the temperatures of the track. Oh, there we go. Look, DRS is enabled. So watch the pit lane then. This is about to become very lively. All of the spray from the tyres has gone. Yeah, I think now Yolta is in trouble. Hugo's first in and out on the track. He's actually going to be out on the medium compound tyres. He might actually be able to get something from here, as we also have Florian and Dennis scrapping through that hairpin. Oh, big tank slapper there from Florian. I think Dennis is going to be potentially looking to try and get into the pits before him and jump him as we go in. Zone's obviously in the pits. Oh, no, Dennis! Big mistake there, off into the wall. Huge wing damage. I don't actually know how he spanned that there. Oh, he's got a puncture. He's got a puncture. That's what's caused it. The rear left has popped, and he threw himself off into the wall. That was a massive mistake there. Not really something he could control, but that is big, sad for him. Yeah, that's really unfortunate timing. But he was planning on coming in the pits anyway, so unfortunately now he does need to replace the wing as well. But yeah, this has not worked out for the likes of Florian and for the likes of Yolta. They now have, they've made an extra stop and didn't really gain much from it. Yeah, I mean, just go back to what you're saying from Dennis's perspective. Yeah, if you're going to have a puncture or an accident or any sort of mistake, you want it on the bit where you're about to come into the pits. Like, he literally did it on the back straight. Now, Dennis was looking pretty good. He was actually looking for a potential points position. Hasn't quite secured that. No, it's still there, P13. There's 2 drivers ahead of him, which will be the difference between him getting best of the rest, and he's already fired up. He's actually trying to find his way through the inside of Higgsy, but Higgsy, has he got 1-1 wings or something? What was that pace? He just suddenly just blitzed away. Contact between the 2 of them, but no damage for Dennis. Very scary moments for him. He's still looking for a move coming into the inside. Dennis is absolutely rapid, breaking hard into the hairpin, does not want to have contact with Copy, and Higgsy also tries to do the same thing, and he has a bit of a mistake and has to divert himself away from the car ahead, and that was very, very scary moments for both. Well, for Copy mainly, because he's seen this before. He's got PTSD from last week's race. He doesn't want it again here in this race. He was tensing up as we come into that braking zone, but he's kept himself there in P11. Dennis and Higgsy, they had a little bit of a moment between the 2 of them. Higgsy's actually still here, still trying to go for it. Top Tom's actually looking for Brownie as well. May go for a move on the DRS straight as we come through. Higgsy's not going to get the move done on Dennis. I think we can settle down for just a minute as the track is still evolving. Drivers are still starting to get excited, and Top Tom's looking for Browning. And through all of that, there's another potential spin into this
Zone's got himself a 3-second time penalty. So that makes him equal with Get Owned. And right now, Get Owned is closing in.
Oh, TopTom's got for a move down the inside here on Brownie. Brownie's giving him just the right amount of room. It was a bit of a desperation send there from TopTom, but ultimately it's kind of helped him because he now closed the gap right up to the back of Brownie. The DRS being wide open. ERS obviously being an overtake. He's gone for the inside into the final chicane. Then he's got to... Brownie's surely got to concede. He has, but he's got a penalty for his troubles as TopTom. So that's an additional 3 seconds to his already existing, I believe, 6. So I think he's now on 9. If you could confirm for me, please, sir.
I believe he is actually just now on 6. So he has an extra 3 seconds to the 2 in front of him, but Brownie behind has 0 seconds of penalties.
Well, the sun is coming out for a lot of people. Brownie being one of them, but he's going to need to do a lot more than what he's got right now. Times are really, really starting to climb as the track is heating up and drying out that little bit more. He was obviously pretty dry enough at least to get DRS re-enabled again, but as the laps come in, you know, oh! Dennis Vyers! Is he doing F1 or Tokyo Drift? Because that was so good coming through there. Really want to get a slow-mo action shot on Dennis there. That was fantastic. Not going to help his tyres at all, but it looked good, and that's the bit that matters. Yolta running wide there through that third chicane, almost put himself into the wall, but he's still here on Vanier. Points looking to be scored for Renault quite nicely. Get earned, like you said, he is closing in on zones, but that gap is still pretty extensive.
Yep, he's been consistently getting about 3-4 tenths for the last 3 laps, so it's coming down, but right now is still a considerable gap.
Vanier having a bit of a defensive move there to protect himself from Yolta. Yolta gets very scared there, almost goes into the back of Vanier. And actually, these two have been racing with each other since, I believe, season 1. They were both in the same league together of RNL. You know, it was a very different league back then than what it is now, but this is quite touching to see. These two going at it, the old schoolers, despite them being, well, one being very young, and the other one being, I think he's in his late 20s, I believe. Yolta having a bit of a back end kick out there. Still within DRS range, obviously, of Vanier, but he needs to maintain a bit more of a consistent rear end because that is going to weigh your tyres down. And you can end up like Dennis with a big pop and a big slam into the wall.
Yeah, the timing on that was just unbelievably bad luck. It's, you know, if that tyre had held out another 500 metres, you know, that it would have been completely fine for him. But just unfortunate it's cost him so much. But what it has done is allowed him to be incredibly fired up as he's just coming down the straight just now. And he's looking to really reel in Yolta now.
But Yolta is having none of it. He's absolutely bombing it as quick as he can to get away. And Yolta's quick. I love to watch Yolta drive. He's always someone who I've been impressed with for a very long time. He has the talent. He just doesn't have the time to practice. And a practiced Yolta is a scary Yolta. He very much can compete with the big boys in this. And I want to see that one day. But, you know, education is priority. And I'm glad for him that that is the case. TopTom and Brownie swap places.
Yeah, there was just a bit of a screen freeze there
for
me, and then like I don't know if there was some people are more affected than that, but that seemed to just allow Brownie to get a little bit of a move done. So, and there's another 3-second time penalty in there for Dennis, putting him just 1 second less than the copy behind him. So, copy with that big 10-second penalty still potentially could gain if Dennis makes another mistake.
So, purple sector 3 there for Brownie. He's showing he has got the pace, but he's still 9.7 seconds back on a Get Earned, who's also very, very quick and actually starting to close in even more on zones. Yeah, Yolta has managed to get the move done on Vanier, but Vanier's sticking it through. He gets onto the curb and he has to back out a little bit. I don't think he's quite got the exit he needs here. No, he hasn't. So Yolta is up to P9 now. 3.7 second gap between him and Florian. I don't think Florian has wing damage this time. Nope, he's kept it okay for now. We haven't got the Tomek effect as Tomek named it last week. So good from him, but you know, we've still got a fair few fair few laps to go in this race. Anything can happen yet.
Yeah, and to be honest, if you look at Florian, he's actually got 0 seconds of penalties as well, so he will likely be gaining on the guys in front. Surprisingly, despite that 7 seconds, because Danny has a 9 second penalty, so Florian still potentially gains some. Tom gets another penalty there.
So I think we need. I'm just gonna have a quick look at Danico. Is he gaining? No, he's not. Okay. I think we need, if you don't mind, sir, a penalty rundown if you can.
Yes, of course. So Zones 3 seconds, Get On 3 seconds, Brownie with 0, Top Tom with 9, Yonte with 6, Samidia with 0, then Danico with 9, Florian 0, then Yolta 6, Vanya 6, Dennis 9, Copy 10. They got just a 1 go. Higgsy 3, Hune 6, and then Hugo's has 0.
And remember, Hugo's actually did manage to pit before anyone else did to get onto these dry tires. He was actually pitted at the right time as well, but he's just had a bit of a nightmare of a race. I think he's had 2 stops. Yes, he has 2 stops in total. I know there are a couple of people up at the front who also have 2 stops, but again, Hugo's is just. I feel like he's probably one of the most unlucky drivers on this grid. Dennis getting a penalty there. That is not helping him.
Yeah, and I don't know if Hugo's just has the wrong setup, but he's consistently a second slower than everyone else out just now. And I don't know if something's just completely wrong with that, or if he's just now lost the motivation. We've seen that he can be a quick driver. He seems to be. I think it's because there's no one around him. He's just not got the motivation to push, and yeah, as I say, just consistently a second off.
Well, I'm watching Brownie. I'm watching Top Tom. Top Tom was at risk of losing DRS to Brownie a couple of laps ago when we had that screen freeze. However, he has brought it back together. He's also right there in the toe of Brownie. The dirt, will be affecting him, especially through these chicanes. They're not easy to navigate, especially as your tires start to get more and more worn. So pay attention to that as we go through. But Top Tom can bide his time a little bit, can just charge his ERS, maybe play a little bit of pain here to Brownie. See if he can force Brownie to burn some of that ERS away in defense. But right now, this is Top Tom's to get a final step on the podium. With aside from the fact he's got 9 seconds of penalties.
Yeah, he'll need to pull out a big gap, or for Brownie to make a big mistake if he's to gain that podium position. But for the moment, you still want to do these things on track.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the statement, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's the bit that you want more than anything. If you can lay down the "I'm faster than you," then that's kind of, you go back to the playground area, but it's still quite a big move when it comes to these races, because once you're in someone's mind, you can outplay them hard. And Hune has gone into the pits and has decided he does not want to continue any further, retiring from this race.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, it's understandable. Quite far back and not having a good time. Had a very difficult race from what was, a fairly good, a good start. Realistically, he had he had an alright qualifying session. He was in the top 10, and he's just been falling back ever since. So frustrating for him, I'm sure. But here comes Top Tom on Brownie now. He's just pushing him that little bit further.
Oh, Top
Brownie
Tom's
lets
just
him
gone past
by.
Brownie. Yeah, exactly.
Brownie has just completely let him go.
Which is the right move, 100%. He realizes how important it is to make sure you don't fight through that final chicane, but also to nurse that ERS a little bit more. Danico's also trying to have a look here for some idiot. They were pretty close together coming through into turn 1-2. Some idiot has got a nice little exit there. A bit of a wobble there. But, some idiot and Danico, they've raced together many a time. They just need to find a way to attack Yonti. It was said in the chat that Yonti may be the dark horse that was needed for this race, and look at him, P5. Really good stuff, considering he's not really had to fight too much on this track.
Yeah, but the downside for him is that somebody behind him doesn't have any penalties, and Yonti does. So, he's going to be losing that position regardless, unless, and even if he does manage to overtake Brownie, again, same situation. Brownie and Samidia both are penalty free, so
yeah,
realistically, he's nothing he can do right now is going to move him further up.
No, I mean, he will stay where he is because Top Tom's going to fall like a stone because he's going to lose that third step on the podium. He's going to fall right the way down to P7, and that's as it stands. You know, Florian doesn't have penalties. Yeah, that gap is a bit more than necessary, but if Top Tom continues with his current trend, we may even see 2 more penalties being applied yet for Top Tom, and then suddenly Florian is fair game. Could easily take that position away from him. So, if you're Top Tom, consistency is the focus here. We talked about it in the F2s. We talked about it at the start of this Grand Prix. And it's no surprise that that's happened. Copy has actually lost out 2 places on the home straight. Higgsy and Dennis both get past. Yes, it's for 0 points. But at the end of the day, like you said, you want to get it done on the track. And that's where he's doing it. If you also have to look at the zones and go, this guy's living on an island right now.
Yeah. And get owned as well, you know. He's done everything he can. He's been as fast as he possibly could, but all that's done is put him in on his own island as well. You know, he's not encroaching upon zones, and he's that much further away than Top Tom and Brownie. So again, you can just see zones turning round turn 3 and 4 there as he's you know, coming along the straight.
Danica getting another penalty to add to his collection. So, I mean, Florian's going to jump 1 place, at least. Potential to jump 2 if Top Tom continues getting more. But still, I mean, we're looking at P6.
Brownie as well. Yonti. Yonti's got 6 seconds, so potential to jump.
Yeah, I mean, Florian will need to improve a fair bit over these next 6 laps just to break that gap down a little bit more, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this pans out towards the end of this race because there's going to be a fair few sends. There's going to be a little bit of desperation plays. Brownie is still there on Top Tom. He did obviously let him past earlier. He is starting to lose that gap a little bit. It's not really a concern as such because he just needs to maintain, was it 9 seconds of gap? But if Brownie could just, excuse me, still continue to keep applying the pressure, then he should be very happy later on in this race.
Yeah, and that's get owned there with another 3 seconds, but that's not going to trouble him at all, really. It's not going to matter to him one bit. Still doesn't put him anywhere close to Brownie yet. He can get another penalty and still be in the clear.
We have a nice little 3-car battle for P5. We have a 2-car battle for P3. I'll say a battle, that's more of a just sitting pretty.
Battle.
Yeah, they're going to stay as they are, but until when the penalties are applied, Top Tom will drop and he will fall pretty hard like a heavy brick. But still continuing, Beyonce is leading this little battle, and he's surely going to be scrapping for ideas on how he can get out of this. Normally, he's a guy I can rely on for the consistency, not quite as much as I can rely on when it comes to Copy. I still expect that Copy's going to gain some points here because that's just how he rolls. He always has that happen. Oh, Danico. That was the tank slapper. You got to keep that one clean.
Yeah, nearly lost it there, but he managed to hold it and didn't really lose him too much time onto the back of somebody else.
Danico closing back in against Samidi. Actually might even go for a move here on Yonti. Look at the pace difference. Straight on through into the braking zone, and yet that move is done and dusted. So Samidi not only going to pass him anyway because of penalties, he's also passed him on track physically. Danico is also looking for a move here on Yonti. Yonti's going to be losing 2 places. He's actually going side by side with him as well. Yonti's going to be forced onto the curb. Danico around the outside now. The exit has to be swift and clean, and I think he's still about got it. Back end kick out there. Yonti's back through, and my word, Danico, that could have been a position swap maybe gained if Yonti gets any more penalties, although he's going to need a fair few. But no, that was still very close, and Yonti's actually lost DRS now.
Yeah, and that's actually all stemmed from Yonti not having DRS in the first place. You know, you just saw how much the pace difference was from Sunmary and Danico just with that DRS advantage that they had.
Okay, Danico hanging in there. Yonti just brought himself back into it. He has got DRS this lap. He will need to dump all of his DRS just to try and close that gap a little bit on Samidi, but also protect himself from Danico behind, because the toe is going to be so much stronger for Danico than what Yonti has got. That gap is closing though. I don't think Danico moves out of the slipstream just to ensure he doesn't close in too much too early. And again, no run of a risk for an overtake. They'll just stay as they are.
You know, when somebody has actually had a very good recovery drive after kind of being nudged off during the turn 1 instance, obviously just bad positioning, really. It was unfortunate more than anything. It wasn't like a misjudgment of his own, and it forced him right down to, I think it was P9, and he's just slowly started working his way back up through the field.
Yeah, I don't know now what Yonti can do. He's just gonna, realistically, he's getting P6. And that's all he's gonna get. He's not gonna gain too much. Safety car.
Oh,
Where have we?
boy.
How have we got a safety car?
I can't see.
Zones is in the pits. Then we might see the pit lane really liven up now. Zones has pretty much got a free pit stop where he can get in and get out.
Get
That
on
was-
as well is coming in.
That was such a random pit stop.
I can't see any instance.
Oh, is that Yolta?
Tom and Brownie.
Oh, Yolta. Yeah. Okay. Yolta has no front wing whatsoever.
Ah, okay.
So clearly he's had an issue somewhere on the circuit. The debris being on the circuit, or the game thought, okay, well, safety car. So that explains it a little bit. Yolta has been kind of saved. So this will blow this race out of the way. It's just clicked. It's just suddenly reminded me of how many penalties people have got. This suddenly changes everything. Brownie could win this race.
Now, the one thing to note, however, is that Brownie will have to get past Top Tom, and Brownie and Top Tom are both on worn tyres. Now, Zones has definitely got pace and he's on new softs, but this has massively cost Get On. He's came in because he knew he had the penalty and he knew he needed those tyres. That what he did not expect was for no one else behind him to come in. And so now he's dropped all the way down to 6th.
The safety car's in this lap. So, I mean, we're not even going to get the full grid back together again. They had to get this underway very quickly because, you know, there's only 2 laps remaining of the session. When they cross the line, that's when the first of the 2 will start. And this is entirely down to Zones now. He's on the soft tyres, he can bomb it away, but he has to bomb it away because he has penalties. You're looking at the likes of Brownie, you're looking at the likes of some idiot who don't have any, who could suddenly either take the win if Zones doesn't pull the gap enough, or if he pushes too hard and gets himself another penalty. This will be even easier. This is going to be mental. I'm choking up from how hard this is going to be, but Zones now isn't, you know, he's gone now, he's gone, he's decided, but Top Tom's actually going to get alongside him as well. This is a drag race coming towards turn 1 and 2. Zones is actually much faster because of that extra bit of grip there. Somebody and Brownie, they realise the importance of getting alongside here. Vanny has had a bit of a penalty issue because he's cut a corner somewhere. Get On is trying to fight Yonti. Yonti's back end is fighting him, and he's trying to get himself down the inside. Get On with a bit of a lunge into turn 4-5, and that's Get On returning up a position. So he's closing into where he needs to be from before. Some idiot's trying to fight with Brownie. He stays as is. Danico alongside Yonti as well. He's actually going down the inside too. He's got the soft tyres on, so he should be much faster. Florian, who's also in a similar boat to Yonti, is also struggling for grip. Higgsy in the same boat, but Vanya's too far back to worry about whether he's going to lose any positions from that. But the penalties being here mean Florian will gain a lot of places as it stands. He just has to make it through the remainder of this lap without any issues, and he could do it. Zones has pulled a 1.7 second gap. He has to do the same again in order to cover himself from Brownie or some idiot. But there's still a chance. There's still a risk here that Brownie could win this, but he cannot hold back. He has to give everything here, just like Get On has done on some idiot. He's through into the final chicane. Get On gets another penalty. So he's going to drop out even more than that. This is going to be such a tense final lap as Get On is looking for Brownie round the outside. This will cause Brownie to lose so much time. He squeezed him. He's cut him off coming in towards turn 1. Luckily, no damage and no rotation. But Danico's also trying to fight somebody once more. This is still Get On pushing as hard as he can. He's got the tyres to do so, but the penalties are too much. I don't think he's going to be able to cover himself off, but Zones has covered himself off to the remainder of the grid. And now it's going to be a battle for P2.
And this is important here for Top Tom and Get On. Get On needs to get by because they've both got equal penalties now. So obviously he's going to be dropping anyway, but he will now be gaining the position on Top Tom at least. And now, how fast can you go? How much of a gap can you get on these final few turns?
That safety car completely blew this race wide open as Top Tom's gone for a send. That was an absolute lunge into the hairpin. He's got the position back, but the stewards may have something to say on it. But this is the final stretch. This is the drag race you wanted to see. You've got so many cars fighting for positions. Danico's on the back of Brownie. Sorry, Geton is actually trying to fight with him, but I think he's run out of fuel, or at least he's running low. He's had to go into lean, sorry. Zones has won this Grand Prix. Here comes Danico drag racing to the line. He's got it physically done, but Brownie takes P2, Somidian takes P3, Yonti flies up to P4, but look at them all coming in. Florian, he climbs up to P4. Higgsy gets P5. When things settle down, it looks like Yonti will stay P6. Top Tom and Geton drop to 7th and 8th. Danico still scores points in P9, and Vania gets the final point. Wow.
What
that
a
was
finish.
Mental.
What a finish. That was incredible.
Can you get any closer than that? It was literally the sweat from all of those drivers must have been insane. The driver of the day in game goes to Higgsy. But I'm thinking right now, who do I give that to? Who do I actually give driver of the day to?
Some idiot. You know, he managed to have an incredible recovery drive all the way back onto the podium. Completely penalty free. He had an outstanding race from what it looked like he was going to be potentially a podium sitter at the start, and then was knocked all the way back down, almost out of the points, and then he still managed to recover his race and get back onto the podium. That was an incredible drive from him. A little bit fortunate, but incredible nonetheless.
Well, I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to decide on a driver of the day, because I actually want to give the quick rundown. So obviously it started out soaking wet, as you can see in the background of this image, and then it transitioned into dries, and then the safety car came out, and that blew this race straight wide open. So Zones did secure the win, even with the penalty, and he gets the fastest lap, so he's maximised the points for him. Brownie gets P2 after a bit of a sprint to the line there, and somebody gets the final step of the podium with Florian P4. Higgsy gets P5 and the driver of the day in game. Yonti gets P6, Top Tom gets P7, Geton with P8, Danico P9, and Vania getting the final point. Yolta gets best of the rest with Copy in P12, Dennis P13, Hugo's P14, Huni P15, and Alex Budd, the only DNFer, I think he was only two, sorry, him and Huni actually DNF from this race. And actually, you know what? I actually have to agree with the in-game driver of the day. I think Higgsy really did a fantastic job to bring himself back in this, because if you think about it, at the beginning of the race, it went south for him pretty early on. You know, I thought he was done. I really thought he was done, but he didn't give up. He stayed committed. He brought himself back up to P5, and you know, even in that little bout of craziness, he still kept his cool and secured a big point scoring position for AlphaTauri, and he needs that. The team need that. So well done to him. I mean, we'll have to share it. So it was, who did you say? Some Idiot for yours and Higgsy for me.
Idiot, yes.
So commentators have split the decision, and it's a shared driver of the day vote for Some Idiot and Higgsy. Oh my word, that Grand Prix was insane. We do now, however, have to go to the interview stages. Okay, so bear with me uno momento. We're going to go and have a chat with who do we go with? Let's go with Some Idiot first. I think he needs it. Let's be honest. Where is he? Where is he? I want to know how much he shouted at the end of that race, because you know what? I don't know if you remember back to Monaco last season.
Yes, I do.
Monaco last season, Some Idiot lost his mind. For all of you that who didn't watch it, and you know, today he secures himself another podium. Mr. Some Idiot. First of all, let's start with the start of the race. Your quality was pretty good. The race was soaking wet. How did it feel out there?
Oh, that car was not good in the wet. I was basically in tire saving mode as soon as I got launched back into 10th. I was like just trying to hang on to the rear tires with everything I had. I think I might have had 3 more laps in it if hadn't gone to dries when it did. But man, I want to say something before I go further on, and I want to thank Falsetti and GIMP, 2 engineers for us. Man, after lap 1, I was livid out of my mind with what happened there, but they didn't give up on me. They didn't give up on me one bit at all. I'm really, really thankful for them, because I don't know if I would have kept on with what I was trying to do if they hadn't just continued to believe in me all the way to the end there. And I'm thankful for that. I really am.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. That honestly, it was a very clear demonstration of just how you should never give up in any race ever, because you never know what could happen. None of us suspected a last-second safety car. Literally none of us. And then it came out, and you guys made the right decision to just prep yourself for that final run. And, you know, you and Brownie, you were looking so good. And then, you know, there was a moment of doubt where you thought maybe you couldn't win it. Maybe you couldn't get the P2. Maybe you couldn't get a podium. And you still held on despite the wear on your tires. And crossed the line, P3. How are you feeling?
Yes. I'm just ecstatic. I'm almost lost for words. I'm a bit in tears as well, because that was just everything I had in me to get that. Sorry if my voice is gone. You know the drill. I always celebrate that. The good result comes. So
I hope it was recorded, because I would love to hear it, honestly.
Maybe Hugo has it. My teammate, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, like, thankful for any chance I get like this, because you never know when it's the last time it happens. That's why I say every single time, but it's just I'm thankful for the chance to get to do this, you know. So
well, luckily you get the chance to do it again next week, because next week is France, I believe, if I've memorized.
Yes, sir.
My,
you are correct.
Good.
You are correct, yes, sir.
So, how do you feel in France?
You know, we're gonna see what happens. I've got a rework setup I have right now for it. I've got some ideas. Maybe I'll see you guys here next week. I don't know. We'll find out. Tune in next week. Maybe I'm here. Maybe I'm not. We'll find out on that. But we're gonna see what happens. I don't know. I don't know enough to give you a firm answer. But I'll come up with something. Promise you.
The one thing I do need from you, though, is a prediction, and it needs to be quite a confident one. Okay, so I need to hear from you. What have you got? Where are you finishing? If you say race win, I'll believe you.
No. That the quality of the field, zones and get owned, they were untouchable until that last safety car. That was like a miracle for that to have happened. I think at this point I can aim for top fives, but it depends on who's showing up week to week. Depends on what people are bringing week to week. I think a top five, that would be ambitious for me. So we'll go with top five.
Well, congratulations regardless. It was a fantastic race, and I'm so glad you didn't give up, because look, P3. And I look forward to seeing what you can do next week. So thank you very much for joining us in the interview room, and congratulations again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Now let's get our P2 man, the lad himself, Brownie, who secured a fantastic... Honestly, I mean, he was looking good anyway. Let's be truthfully honest. You're already looking for a podium. But then that safety car just completely span it out. And there was a moment where you could have got the win. Just, Brownie, please explain to me how you're feeling now and how you felt when you saw the safety car come out.
Well, first of all, I still hate the game, because it's really frustrating right now.
Go on.
But this race helped. It was fun. It
was crazy.
It turned my hate from 100% to 99%.
So
that's a big jump.
It is. Now you made the decision at the very end when the safety car was called to not pit. Why was that?
Yes. Because the cars behind were too close. I knew I would lose positions, and I knew that the safety car would probably come in after one lap, but I still thought even like fresh softs, I could probably pull like a 4-second gap on my current medium, so that were like 45%. So. Okay. With an overtake, that's basically one overtake and clean air then, but that wouldn't have happened, so the math doesn't check out, so I stayed out.
But I mean, look, P2 was fantastic in the end. Honestly, I was so glad that you managed to secure yourself that. I mean, the team needed it. Renault was obviously having a very roller coaster season, especially last race, Baku. You were looking good, and then it only took one mistake. I guess, you started the chain reaction, but the second driver then decided to continue the chain reaction. But
it was a very colorful second impact.
Yeah, it really was. But I mean, still, at the end of the day, you got today is where it comes back. You get these That's the part of racing, isn't it? Experiencing these ups and downs and making sure you continue pushing no matter what. So congratulations on P2. I do have to ask about France because I've seen you before. I remember last season you actually put it on pole, didn't you?
No, I think it was
P2, was it?
after
Yeah,
Nico,
sorry, P2.
behind Nico. Then
Behind,
I had a little run in
wasn't it
with
behind
Tomek.
Tomek?
Yeah, my pace on this game in France is still good, so let's see if I can win.
So, that's the confidence I want to hear. I was about to ask you for a prediction, but see if I can win is good enough for me. All right, Brownie, thank you very much for racing today. Thank you very much for taking time to come and interview with me, and congratulations again on the P2. You absolutely nailed it. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the man of the hour, the man who kept his cool even when things were looking a little bit awkward with the when the safety car came out. Zones for a minute had a penalty. Thought he might actually lose the race win, especially with Brownie and Samidia both keeping it completely penalty free. But Zones, you managed to pull away a beautiful gap there on the final 2 laps. Just explain to me, when that safety car came out, what made you decide to pit, and what gave you the confidence that you could pull away a nice gap?
Well, so I was thinking I had enough gap to pit and not lose position, so I decided to pit. And then when I was checking who has penalty, who hasn't, I was pretty scary, but just had to push, and yeah, I did it. So.
Well, I mean, I also want to start from the very beginning of the race as well. You know, you also had a really good run from the lights. Literally, lights went out and you were gone. You'd already taken off. There was no contest from anyone around. You were putting lap after lap, being fastest after fastest after fastest lap, and it was really good to watch. Did you compromise your setup much at all in order to get that?
No, I didn't change a lot in comparison to dry to wet, and just show my pace, and yeah, just pure pace.
All right. Well, I mean, good. I'm glad. I like to see that. That was very, very well driven by you. Again, congratulations on the P1, but next week is France. Are you feeling confident for France?
Well, I don't like this track. Haven't practiced yet, so we will see what happened here.
So if I asked you for a prediction, you would say?
Maybe top 5 for sure. I don't want to predict more. Just top 5, I'm pretty sure about that.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the race win. You took all the points you could possibly get today with the fastest lap as well. And I really look forward to seeing what you can deliver over in France. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you.
Can I say something real quick before
Yeah.
you head off Zone?
Yeah.
To Zone, you did an incredible job, man. That was masterclass. So
Yeah.
really congrats to you, man.
Thanks.
Just want to say that. Yeah. All right.
I love the humbles. I love the humbles.
See you guys.
See you soon. Thank you very much, everybody who joined us for the Canadian Grand Prix here in the Rwagnation League. It was an absolute pleasure to commentate alongside you, Mr. Badger. Thank you so much. You are a lad, and I appreciate being in the commentary box with you every week because it always is a pleasure.
You're Martin De Resta.
Yeah, you're my personal Martin De Resta, and I love you forever and ever.